Ewoks. I'm sure you know who they are. They're furry little bear-like creatures who we were introduced to in Return of the Jedi in 1983. Well, after that film was done, a year after that, they would actually get their own movie just a year before their Saturday morning show came out. And I'm about to review it right now, The Ewok Adventure, otherwise known as Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure.
This is Big D's entertainment rankings and reviews. Bichiwawa!
So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome again to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. I'm the Big D, and this time around, I bring to you a review of the 1984 made for TV film, The Ewok Adventure, as it was promoted as, but also known as Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. Originally released by Fox and produced by Lucasfilm and Corte Films, the film premiered on ABC on November 25th, 1984. It takes place on the moon of Endor, featuring the titular characters of the Ewoks who help two young human siblings as they try to locate their parents. Now, I hardly remember this film, since I hadn't seen it in such a long time, but now, of course, I can tell you what it is. Anyway, now this is just gonna be what the story's like, so I'm gonna go ahead and count down because this story's not gonna take too long. So go to the description box below and fast forward to the time below if you don't want to hear this story. But if you see it, good, because you have been warned. If you already didn't do it, well, this is just an early one to so you can avoid the story because it's just not, well, you know. All right, let's get started. On the forest moon of Endor, a star cruiser lies wrecked. The Tawani family, Catherine, Jeremit, Mace, and Sindel, are stranded. When Karen and Jeremit vanish, the children are found by the Ewok Deej. After Mace threatens them, the Ewoks subdue him and take both children to the Ewoks' home. There, Sindel befriends Wicket. Shortly thereafter, the Ewoks kill a boar wolf, only to find a life monitor from one of the Tawai parents with the creature. And they seek out the Ewok Logray, who informs them that the parents have been taken by the monstrous Gorax, which resides in a deserted, dangerous area. A caravan of Ewoks is formed to reunite the children with their parents. They meet a boisterous Ewok woodsman named Chukatrok, Kank the Ewok priestess, and a Wisty named Izrina before finally reaching the lair of the Gorax after a few mishaps on the way. The group engaged the Gorax in battle, freeing Jeremit and Katarine, but Chukatruk is fatally wounded. The Gorax is thought destroyed when it's knocked into a chasm, but it takes the final blow from Mace using Chukatruk's axe to defeat the creature, which tries to climb back up after them. The Tawais decide to stay with the Ewoks until they can repair the Star Cruiser, and Izrina leaves to return to her family. And there you have it. That's the end. That's the actual story. So, as always, you were warned a little early because this wasn't a long story to talk about from my source. Sorry, everyone. But if you went through this without seeing this movie, you were warned, big time. Okay. Now then, for my thoughts on Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure, I will say it's not too bad. It's pretty good in some ways, but maybe not completely great though. But it was fine. Why have you? Apparently, George Lucas had allowed the Star Wars universe to be produced for television, which started with the infamous Holiday Special, which proved to be an embarrassment. However, Lucas assumed greater control over a planned half-hour television project about Ewoks. So he hired Thomas G. Smith to produce the film after he had stepped down as the manager of ILM, that's Industrial Light and Magic, after working on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom that same year. Lucas also hired Bob Caro, a personal assistant, to co-write the story with him. Well, when shopping the film around, Smith discovered that none of the TV networks at the time were interested in airing a half-hour special, but ABC showed interest in a 2-hour movie of the week. The project was expanded to fill the request. The producers initially conceived of the project as a cross between Hansel and Gretel and Tarzan of the Apes. John Corty, who had directed the Lucas-produced Twice Upon a Time, was selected as director. So yes, I am going to say that was pretty interesting. Its score was done by Peter Bernstein. This included the soundtrack included Parade of the Ewoks from John Williams' score to the previous year's Return of the Jedi, and is credited as Wicket's theme, and is heard when the children are initially rescued and taken to the Ewok village where they meet Wicket. Selections from the score were released a couple of years later and was titled Ewoks, which contained additional cuts from this and its sequel, The Battle for Endor, which premiered a year later. Well, I am going to say it's not too bad. Maybe not great, but fine and what have you. Now, in some reviews, film got mostly mixed and what have you. The New York Times noted the film story as being almost aggressively simple, and that Mr. Lucas and crew do not come up with anything terribly astonishing. And well, apparently, yeah. The reviewer recognized most of the interactions as following well-established cinematic tropes. Notable ones between Cinderella looking like one of those little blonde angels used to top off Christmas trees, and Wicked, a performance by the then 10-year-old Warwick Davis, just before he played Willow, and then later go on to do the Leprechaun and Harry Potter franchises, whom the reviewer of the New York Times Review, John J. O'Connor, called the cleverest of the lot. Colin Greenland reviewed the film for Imagine magazine and stated that a casual catalog of magical folderol about various ancestral talismans carried by the questing koalas it certainly did the trick for the 8 and 9-year-olds in the front row, but seemed to make little sense to their mums and dads or to me. Now, this was actually given a limited international theatrical run, for which it was retitled to Caravan of Courage, an Ewok Adventure, while it was just simply promoted as the Ewok Adventure when it first came out. But modern reception has been largely negative, with A.M. Mesa Pop Culture Beast calling the movie a story without a sense of urgency and a chore to sit through. Rotten Tomatoes has this way low. This is even lower than The Rise of Skywalker at a mere 39%, where they say the film struggles with winning performances and a formulaic plot that fails to capture the charm and excitement of the larger Star Wars universe. Well, that may be, but nevertheless, the film's fine, what have you. Well, in some ways. Anyway, after this, there will be books and an audio book. And, of course, A year after this, a sequel came out in The Battle of Endor in 1985. Just right about after that same year, the Ewoks would get their own show on Saturday mornings, where it aired along with an animated version of the droids, R2D2 and C3PO. The film was one of 4 films to be juried awarded Emmys for outstanding special visual effects at the 37th Primetime Emmys. The film was additionally nominated for Outstanding Children's Program, but unfortunately lost to an episode of PBS's American Playhouse. Nevertheless, I will say this film can be a little underrated, but I'd say it was fine and what have you. Anyway, now I am gonna say it has been released on physical media. Recently, it was released on DVD in a double feature with The Battle for Endor in 2004. And of course, the release board, the theatrical release title, Caravan of Courage. Soon, Disney Plus managed to get the films. So, yes, after Eric Walker started a petition for Disney to add them. And in April of 2021, both films were added. So you might have a good chance to find those there in case you can't find the DVDs. So I could recommend this if you are a big Ewoks fan or if you really want to see some other films inside the Star Wars universe, and this is worth looking into. The cast, we have Warwick Davis as Wicket. He does a good job. And Daryl Henriques does the Henriquez does Wicket's vocal effects. Now we have Fionnula Flanagan as Catherine and Guy Boyd as Jeremy. Eric Walker played Mace. Pretty good. But I really did like young Aubree Miller as Sindel. Very good. For the rest, we have Daniel Frischman as Deej, while Sydney Walker did the voice. Debbie Lee Carrington played Weechie Warwick. Tony Coxon, I think you know that name, who would go up here in numerous films, including some of those late, mid 2000s parody flicks and what have you, and also Bad Santa fame, played Whittle Warwick, or Willie for short. Kevin Thompson as Chuka Trog, and oh, the list could go on. Also, we have the late great Burl Ives as the narrator of this. Yes. So anyway, I am going to say Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure. Well, maybe not one of the most memorable Star Wars movies, but it's a nice little film. I mean, it provides a little bit of fun and excitement and what have you. So I would only recommend this if you are a hardcore completionist or if you were into the Ewoks, as long as they didn't annoy you much. Which I know, I just ran if you were paying attention, but I'm serious about the rest of it though. So, what did you think of Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel, and you know the rest. Join me next time when I bring to you a review of the sequel to this in Ewoks: The Battle for Endor. So if you like this, consider checking out some of these other films from the world of Star Wars. In the upper left-hand corner, you can check out my re-review for Return of the Jedi from 1983. Or go to the upper right-hand corner and check out my re-review of the first ever theatrical, big-time theatrical spin-off of Star Wars in Rogue One. Or if you'd like, go to the bottom left-hand corner and see my Saturday morning TV log on the Ewoks cartoon from 1985. In the bottom right-hand corner is a button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.